$48.2 billion in trade at risk. One signature. 8 months of diplomatic destruction. America just made what might be the costliest strategic mistake in decades. And if you've ever wondered how quickly a superpower can isolate itself, buckle up. Because this story will change how you see America's place in the world. But before we dive in, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment, "I subscribe." And I'll personally welcome you into the family. With that said, let's get started. Let me paint you a picture that'll make your head spin. President Trump just slapped 50% tariffs on India, one of the highest on any trading partner, putting $48.2 billion worth of exports in jeopardy. But here's where it gets personal. Meet Rajesh Patel. 3 years ago, his tech company in Bangalore was expanding so fast, he opened offices in Austin, Texas. 500 Americans working for an Indian company, living the American dream, right? Wrong. After the tariffs hit, Rajesh had to make the hardest call of his life. 200 pink slips. Gone. And those plans for 1,000 new American jobs. Scrapped. I believed in the American market. Rajesh told me over a video call, his voice breaking. My employees trusted me. Now I'm explaining to their families why Daddy lost his job, because of a trade war that makes no sense. But wait, it gets worse. Rajesh isn't alone. Intel just announced they're moving their $20 billion semiconductor project from Ohio to Vietnam. Why? Because their Indian supplier partnerships became too risky overnight. That's 3,000 American manufacturing jobs that just evaporated. Here's what nobody's telling you about this disaster. Here's a number that'll blow your mind. US trade with Pakistan. The country was supposedly pressuring India about $7.3 billion. US trade with India? $129.2 billion. Read that again. We're threatening our partner who trades 18 times more with us to pressure a country that barely registers on our trade radar. It's like canceling your mortgage to spite your neighbor's dog. But according to a 2025 R&D Corporation analysis, US-India relations were already fundamentally fragile before this latest blow. Let me introduce you to Sarah Martinez, a pharma executive from Phoenix. She's watching this unfold with growing horror. Why? Trump threatened 200% tariffs on pharmaceutical imports from India. Here's the kicker. India supplies 40% of America's generic drugs. Sarah's diabetic father takes 3 medications that could 2x in price overnight. My dad's on a fixed income, Sarah explained, her frustration palpable. If you take any prescription medication, and most Americans do, this isn't some distant trade policy. This is your wallet getting mugged by your own government. The FDA's own data shows 70% of active pharmaceutical ingredients in US drugs come from India. We're literally threatening to make American healthcare unaffordable. To prove what point exactly? But here's what'll really make you sick. While Sarah's watching medicine prices skyrocket, CVS and Walgreens are quietly stockpiling Indian generics before the tariffs hit. They know what's coming. Do you? And that's just the beginning of this nightmare. While America pushes India away, guess who's rolling out the red carpet? China. And they're not stupid. They see a $129 billion opportunity walking away from Uncle Sam. Commander Lisa Chen spent her career designing America's Indo-Pacific strategy. 20 years of building naval partnerships, joint exercises, intelligence sharing, all designed to contain China's expansion. Now she's watching it crumble in real time. It's like building a fortress for decades, then handing the keys to your enemy, she told me during our interview. Every Indian partnership we lose is a Chinese victory we handed them for free. Here's what's happening right now, while we're busy shooting ourselves in the foot. China just offered India a $50 billion investment package. No strings attached. No lectures about oil purchases. Just pure business. During the Ukraine war, India showed its multi-ligament strategy, maintaining ties with both the US and Europe while buying Russian oil at favorable rates. Smart diplomacy. But instead of respecting this balancing act, we're forcing India to choose sides. The Pentagon's own war games show that without Indian naval bases, the US cannot effectively counter China in the Indian Ocean. We control the Pacific. China wants the Indian Ocean. India is the Indian Ocean. And we just told them to go find new friends. General Mark Milley warned Congress in 2024 that losing Indian cooperation would be strategically catastrophic for containing Chinese expansion. His exact words. We're about to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. But the real kicker. China's been planning this for years. In 2019, Xi Jinping met with Modi and said something chilling. America treats you like a junior partner. We'll treat you like equals. Back then, Modi laughed it off. He's not laughing anymore. Chinese investment in Indian infrastructure just hit $15 billion this year. They're building ports, highways, and tech hubs. While we threaten tariffs, they're building the future. And here's the part that should terrify every American. India has the world's largest population, fastest growing major economy, and they speak English. If China wins them over, the global balance of power shifts permanently. The human cost is even more devastating than you think. Hundreds of thousands of Indian jobs hang in the balance. But Americans are paying too, and the bill is about to get a lot higher. Meet David Rodriguez. His family's been importing Indian textiles for 30 years. 3 generations built this business. 50 American employees who became family. David's grandfather started with 1 truck and a dream. His father built it into a multi-million-dollar operation. Now, David's closing the doors. I walk through our warehouse now, and it echoes. David's voice trembles. 30 years of relationships gone. My employees aren't just losing jobs. They're losing their livelihoods because politicians decided to play chicken with our economy. The Tax Foundation calculates Trump's tariffs amount to a $1,300 tax increase per American household. Your groceries, clothes, electronics, everything's about to cost more. But David's story gets worse. His biggest client was Walmart. They were sourcing $50 million worth of Indian textiles through his company annually. Now Walmart's going direct to Vietnam and Bangladesh, cutting David out entirely. That's not just David's business dying. That's American expertise in global supply chains disappearing forever. Jennifer Walsh runs a spice import business in Portland. Indian spices make up 60% of America's imports. Her specialty: turmeric and cardamom for the booming health food market. The tariffs just made her products 40% more expensive overnight. My customers are already switching to Chinese suppliers, Jennifer told me, fighting back tears. I built relationships with farming families in Kerala over 15 years. Now I have to tell them America doesn't want their business anymore. Here's what's really twisted. Those Chinese suppliers Jennifer's customers are switching to, they're buying the exact same spices from the same Indian farmers, marking them up, and selling them to Americans at higher prices. We're literally paying China to be our middleman for Indian products. But the biggest shock: how we got here makes absolutely no sense. Ready for the most mind-bending part? Trump just re-hyphenated India with Pakistan, reversing 20 years of American foreign policy that worked to separate these relationships. Ambassador Patricia Williams spent her entire career implementing this dehyphenation strategy. She helped build the foundation that made India America's strategic partner, instead of just another South Asian problem. It's like watching someone burn down your life's work, she told me, exhaustion evident in her voice. We spent decades convincing India that America saw them as an independent power, not just Pakistan's neighbor. Now we're back to treating them like they're the same country. Here's the insanity. Pakistan gets $1.2 billion in US military aid annually. We literally pay them to be our ally while threatening to tariff India for not obeying our oil policy. Pakistan harbored Osama bin Laden for years. India's never sponsored terrorism against America. Yet somehow India is the problem. The Council on Foreign Relations reports these tariffs affect 55% of Indian exports to the United States. We're not just poking the bear, we're setting it on fire. But here's what really happened behind the scenes. 3 months ago, India signed a defense deal with France worth $8 billion, jets, submarines, and missile systems. That deal was supposed to go to American companies. Lockheed Martin lost a $3 billion contract. Boeing lost $2 billion. General Dynamics, another $1.5 billion gone. Why? Because Modi told his defense minister, "If America doesn't respect us as equals, let's buy European." Senator Marco Rubio called this the most expensive foreign policy mistake since Vietnam. Strong words from a guy who usually supports tough trade policies. The irony? We're treating our democratic ally worse than we treat authoritarian regimes. China's watching this and laughing all the way to the bank. But the price tag for this mistake? It'll blow your mind. Beyond the immediate $48.2 billion at stake, we're gambling away India's entire economic future. And here's why that should scare you. Meet Priya Sharma, 22, one of India's brightest engineering minds. Last year, she would have chosen MIT for graduate school. This year, she's headed to Cambridge University instead. Why would I come to a country that sees India as a problem to solve instead of a partner to embrace? She asked me during our video interview. The UK respects us. America just sees us as Pakistan's troublesome neighbor. But Priya's not alone. Stanford just reported a 35% drop in Indian student applications this year. MIT's down 28%. That's the next generation of doctors, engineers, and entrepreneurs taking their talents elsewhere. Dr. Rajesh Gupta, who runs the AI lab at Carnegie Mellon, is watching his best students leave for Europe. "I'm losing Nobel Prize-level talent because of trade policy," he told me. "These kids will cure cancer or revolutionize energy storage, just not for America anymore." The Atlantic Council warns the current approach is unsustainable if America wants to build coalitions capable of containing Chinese influence. Here's what's already happening. Google's Indian employees are transferring to their London offices. Microsoft's moving 2 major projects from Seattle to Dublin. Apple's shifting iPhone component sourcing from Indian suppliers to Vietnamese ones, at 30% higher costs. But the real gut punch. India just announced their own America Alternative strategy. They're fast-tracking trade deals with the EU, UK, and even Australia to replace US partnerships. Prime Minister Modi's exact words: "If America chooses isolation, India chooses the world." Picture this. Empty seats in American lecture halls where Indian students once filled classrooms. Silent research labs where the next generation of Indian innovators chose other countries to build their futures. That's not just their loss, it's America's generational mistake. We're not just losing today's trade. We're losing tomorrow's innovators, next decade's partnerships, and our children's strategic advantages. But wait, there's an even darker twist to this story. Remember that $129.2 billion in annual trade we're risking. That's just the visible part. The real money is in what economists call invisible trade, the services, intellectual property, and digital partnerships that don't show up in traditional statistics. Indian IT companies employ over 300,000 Americans directly. Infosys has 25,000 US employees. TCS has 50,000. Wipro has 30,000. These aren't just jobs. These are the highest-paying tech jobs in America outside of Silicon Valley. Mumbai's stock market just announced they're creating dollar-denominated trading to compete with Wall Street. They're literally building financial infrastructure to bypass American banks. JP Morgan Chase stands to lose $8 billion in annual trading fees if this succeeds. But here's the kicker. They're partnering with the London Stock Exchange to make it happen. So while we're busy alienating India, Britain's positioning itself to capture the financial services we're about to lose. The Federal Reserve's own analysis shows that if India shifts even 20% of its dollar reserves to other currencies, it could destabilize the dollar's global dominance. We're not just risking trade, we're risking the foundation of American economic power. And China? They just announced the yuan can now be used for all trade with India. No dollars required. We literally forced our ally to help China challenge our currency. The next move is ours, but the clock is ticking. Here's what nobody in Washington wants to admit. This isn't just about trade policy. It's about whether America still knows how to lead, or if we've forgotten how to build coalitions. India was supposed to be our answer to China's Belt and Road Initiative. While China builds roads and ports, we were building partnerships and shared values. Democratic allies containing authoritarian expansion. It was working. Now, India's looking at China's checkbook and America's tariff threats and asking a simple question. Who's the better partner? 3 weeks ago, Modi met with Putin in Moscow. The photo that went viral. Putin and Modi laughing together while signing energy deals worth $65 billion. The message to Washington was clear. You're not our only option anymore. But here's what should really keep you up at night. Every day we continue this trade war, China gets stronger and America gets more isolated. This isn't just economics. It's about the future of democracy versus authoritarianism. If we lose India, we lose the world's largest democracy as a strategic partner. If China wins India, they don't just get their economy, they get their military, their geographic position, and their influence over the entire Indian Ocean region. The Pentagon knows this. The CIA knows this. Wall Street knows this. Somehow, the people making policy don't seem to get it. So here's my question for you. Should America sacrifice a $129 billion partnership and push our biggest democratic ally toward China just to make a point about oil purchases? Or is there a smarter way to lead the world without shooting ourselves in the foot? I want to hear your take in the comments. Are we watching America's decline in real time? Or is this just growing pains of a changing world order? And if you think your friends need to understand how quickly America can isolate itself from its allies, share this video. The next chapter of this story, that's up to us. But based on what we've seen so far, I'm not optimistic about the ending. What do you think? Is America making the right call, or are we about to learn a very expensive lesson about the price of diplomatic blindness?